Tomas Zidek, I'm back. For more content, check out my website tomaszidek.com.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Bang!
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have a special guest, Veit Richter, external consultant, Agile coach, and I can assure you that a very enthusiastic and passionate professional. Welcome here.
Thank you, Tomas. It's nice for having me.
And Veit, so what was the most interesting thing that happened to you in the last week?
The most interesting thing happening last week. Now I need to take a moment and look into my calendar. The most interesting thing, I guess, it was a simple daily. I had a daily together with a team, and this team, they are working with Agile methods and with Scrum since I would say like 3 years or something. And till now, I was not able to join them in their daily. So I was just, sometimes they told me about, our dailies, they're a bit strange. But I never had the time to join them. And then I joined them, and it was a really strange daily. And you saw a lack of commitment. You saw a lack of feeling for responsibility. And this was kind of interesting. So what happened was on one day they said, okay, what's our strategy? We need to, what is our priority for the upcoming day or the upcoming days? What is it our customer really needs, and where do we need to go in, and so on and so on. And at the end, I asked them to put it into 4 bullet points. They said, prior 1 is this thing. After that, we go into that. After that, we should focus on the 3rd thing, and then we go into the 4th. And the day after, they completely forgot about it. I asked them, like, didn't we yesterday had a strategy into where to go? And they said, yeah, we always do stuff like that, but we are not the ones who are able to decide. We are not the ones who are really asked, so we just ignore what is said in those dailies. Oh, that's a really interesting thing. So why do you have a daily? What's the value in it for you? We don't know. It's a status report. We have to go there, but whatever happens there, we don't really care. This was some kind of eye-opener for me. It's like, what the hell is happening there? But we have some pretty nice conversations right now, and trying to change the output and the value of the daily, and really also the point of view of everyone who is in the daily. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so daily seems like should not be a status report. That's the learning that I got from your story.
Yeah, something like that. And you shouldn't lie, right? From both sides.
You shouldn't lie. That's not even part of the Agile doctrine. That's more universal.
Yeah.
And what's the topic of today's conversation?
Yeah, what I brought with me, and so in another podcast where I wasn't in, but there were people talking about me, and they said, "Do you know Veit? He's the guy always bringing games to the customers and to the clients." And then it was like, "Yeah, it's the kindergarten guy, right?" So they were. I was listening to that, and in the first moment, I was like, "What the hell? How is the world looking at me as the kindergarten guy?" But in the meantime, it's fine for me. Yeah, I'm the kindergarten guy, and what does it mean? It's about games. It's about fun. It's about fun at the workplace, and so on and so on. So the topic I brought with me is how to bring fun and joy, and especially the joy of gaming into a team. So how can you use games, or especially also agile games, within a team, within a team building process, or also when the team has a kind of pink elephants in the room they don't want to talk about, and stuff like that.
So you'd like to talk about how to bring agile games into the team building.
Mhm.
So somehow the listeners know how to bring fun and joy of gaming into a team.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And what do you think needs to be discussed today or addressed so that the listeners know how to bring some agile games into the team building?
Um, I guess one thing is, or there are so many things. One important thing is you shouldn't have the goal of bringing in agile games into a team building context. So the game shouldn't be the main goal, but more the learning. So if you think about, I have a problem within my team and I would like to fix it, and in the second phase of to think about how could I fix it, or how could I help the team fix it themselves, how could I make it transparent, and so on and so on, then games can be a good answer. But what I saw with some agile coaches and scrum masters I talked about, they put the game itself into the front space. So what does it mean? What you shouldn't do, or um, what happened with them, and this was also the feedback. It was like, I played this game you announced together with my team, and we played it together, and they were completely underwhelmed. They were like, why the hell do we now play it at work? And I asked him, yeah, did you have the debrief? Did you talk about why you played the game? And did the team had a deeper conversation about that? Nah, we just played the game. Oh, okay, interesting. So you play the game at work without any value, right? Yeah, a game without debrief has no value on the workspace, if you ask me. So there should always be some kind of debrief. But also I asked him, so the game you played with them, what is the main purpose of the game, or what is the most happening debrief there? And did the team have exactly that problem? He said, I don't know what the debriefing was, and I don't know what I. Yeah, no, they didn't really had the problem with with something the game could have solved. Interesting. Okay, so why the hell did you play? So long story short, games are a really brilliant way, and I think for let's put it the Pareto way, 80% of all the problems you will find a game or a good idea for a solution online. You will find games which can help a team discover the problem, and also to make them open to speak about solutions and how to solve it. But always put the problem first. So, but your initial question was, what should we talk about today? So also, where can I find games? And if I don't find any game for something, how can I create one myself? I guess this could be some pretty interesting things for your listeners.
So to speak about where can one find some games, and then you mentioned debrief, that the main purpose is not just to play the game.
Yeah.
So how would you like to start?
Where would I like to start? Yeah, I guess the so where to find games. Also there, I have a quite funny question. Quite funny story. Just I guess 2 or 3 months ago, there was a scrum master asking me for, hey, Veit, back then when you were agile coach in our company and we had a new team member on board, you had this brilliant game for getting to know each other. It was kind of these wanted pictures where everyone speaks about his journey and why he is on the position he is today and what's special about him, and so on and so on. And do you know any other games? Because this one we already played, and now we are getting 2 more members on board. This one we already played, and do you have anything else? And I was like, no, not in the moment, not that I can think of right from the back of my head. But I was also speaking to her, and I said, hey, you could create one yourself. Right? So if you're already experienced and already tried out a lot of stuff, then this could be a good idea to think about creating games or creating new exercises yourself. But for the first part, I guess a lot of your listeners as well know the web page Tasty Cupcakes. Tasty Cupcakes is an open web page where everyone can post his or her games. I guess they already have do they have 1,000 games? It looks like, and they are all right for the Agile context and for work context, and yeah, everything you can think of. There's a game on this page, so this is a good recommendation, I would say.
Tasty Cupcakes, the source of games.
tastycupcakes.org. Yeah, exactly.
tastycupcakes.org. That's where you can find some games.
Yeah.
And if you want to create one yourself, then where should one start?
So I guess you should start with playing games. Playing games, of course, you should have fun on playing games as in your private life, but also you should try out some of the Agile games, for example, on Tasty Cupcakes, together with teams, to get used into how do I facilitate those games, how do I use them, what is the feedback, how do I do some debriefing, and so on and so on. So to get used on how different do games behave in a workplace in comparison to how games behave in a private life. Where do I need to put focus on? How can I motivate team members to join in there, and so on and so on. So first, you should get some experience there. And after it, I would recommend, together with Olaf Bublitz, I guess you also know him, we created some kind of game creation workshop where we also talked about how can we create games. And at a bigger conference, we had a 2-hour window where we had different teams in there trying to create games with some of our ideas, and it was brilliant. It was fun as hell. So like we said in the beginning, first thing should be try to find your problem. So before you say, I now create a game because I want to play with my team, this is the wrong intent, I would say. The intent should be something like, I have a problem here. I have the feeling it's a problem, for example, which is not transparent to the team. And I would like to make it transparent. So what is it you really want to achieve? And after you found out what the game should be about, the second good step should be to do something like the 5 whys retrospective method. So ask 5 times, why is it a problem? I like to use the metaphor of a broken knee, broken leg, for example. If you have a broken leg, what you can do is take a headache pill. It will solve the problem because you don't have any pain anymore, right? Yes, for the moment, but then the pain starts again. What do? You take the second headache pill. Doesn't sound like the right solution. So first, try to find out what's what's the root of the pain. So if you just say, I have a pain and I want to solve it, but where is this pain coming from? For the example we also had in our workshop, give me a moment, it was there we also talked about daily, for example. In the daily, everyone is never there's someone on time. There are people too late, people too early, people are waiting, people are not focused, and so on and so on. And then they tried to solve this problem. But we also talked about, where is this problem coming from? So why is it there? Why is it a problem on its own? And how did it evolve, and so on. So first, try to really figure out what's the problem. And maybe also don't do it on yourself on your own. Take 1 or 2 other Agile coaches or good friends of you, or people who are experienced with games, or even people who have the problem. Maybe the game creation itself is the solution for the problem, right? So just imagine you take one of those team members where you think this could be a problem into the game creation itself. So think about where's the problem coming from. And after that, what I would recommend is think about games. Think about games where you have a feeling that they are working in a similar way. or they are doing something which where in the end people say something like, wow, this game was really cool. We were able to talk about X, Y, Z. So one example is, you know the game Werewolf?
No.
No. You know social deduction games? So just a
No.
short introduction to social deduction games or Werewolf. Imagine you have 8 people in a room, and we also play it in the meantime over Zoom. So if you want to join, it's tomorrow, I guess, is the next occasion to join at 7 p.m. So there are 8 people in a room, and 2 of them are the big bad werewolves, and 6 people are the villagers. They are the peaceful people. And during the day, all 8 people are awake. And then you have a facilitator who says, okay, and now we have night. Everyone needs to close his eyes. And the werewolves are allowed to open their eyes again and pick out of the 6 villagers one they want to kill in the night. Pick one of the people which are there out. He will die, and at the next day, it is announced he died. And then they speak about what they think who could be someone. Who could be a werewolf. They speak about, I heard something from back there, or also social deduction. If Manfred just said something like, blah blah blah, and this sounds strange. I'm suspicious of this guy. And this is an example. It's a really good example for how do team communication work, also on how do people make up their minds. How do they decide? Because at the end of the day, they need to decide on one guy from the whole group they want to throw into the fire. And hopefully it's a werewolf, right? So this, for example, is a great game to learn how to facilitate. For example, in those 8 people, you could add a new role, the facilitator, who is there, and everyone in the room knows he's the good guy. So he is not a werewolf, and he wants to help the group in their conversation. So you could put, for example, new Scrum Masters into this position, or new Agile coaches, or people who are facilitating often, and ask them to facilitate the whole group and facilitate the round of villagers and werewolves. And this way, they can learn on, okay, how do people make up their mind, and how can I help the team in their conversation without bringing my intent and my solution, which I have in mind, into the group, and so on and so on. So this, for example, can be a good game. You can then, in the third step, tweak a little bit to meet your problem, for example.
So you said that it shows you how the team communication works and how people decide, and also that you can put a new Scrum Master or someone who wants to practice facilitation into the role of a werewolf facilitator.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what do you think are the main benefits of such a game?
If I think back on if I think back into school, there were people good at English and people which were not that good at English. And if you focus on the people which were good at English, you had normally 2 groups: the ones which were really studying hard, and the others which were playing online games. Right? So there are always people good at something just because they do it in parallel to something else, just because it makes fun. And so stuff like learning English, thinking about logical connections between things, and so on and so on. These are things you can learn by playing games. If you go into a group and say, hey, this is your problem and we now need to solve it, and the group says, this is not our problem, and no, we don't want to solve it, and maybe they are already stuck in some kind of phase where they don't know how to find a solution, a game can completely get them out of their working environment. So just putting them out of their daily work, sitting at their desk with their PC and their mouse and their keyboard, but now you sit on a table. At a table. You sit at a table, and here you have a board game, and together we are playing something with dwarves and elves and something like that, and we are just playing. And they can really shut off their working environment, go into the game, and during the game they can learn. They can learn because they will be open-minded because they don't know the game. They know their working environment. So to teach them something directly in a working environment, they are the experts, right? So you and me, we are not the experts for the stuff they are working on. For example, code and C# and whatever. But in the game itself, everyone knows that they don't know the game. So they need to learn. They need to adapt. They need to change their mind into a learning mode. And because it's a natural learning mode they are in, they try to getting better and better during the game to be able to beat the game, find solutions, and so on and so on. And you have what I see in the most teams is after such a game or within such a game, it's way easier to get into conversation together with the team. Something like, and this is, for example, the debrief. What did just happen? What did you do? We played a game. Okay. What was the success factor? What do you mean? Yeah, you played now three rounds. The first 2 rounds were a complete disaster, but the third round you won the game. Why? So normally, what works really good are games which are collaboratively played. So what your listeners currently don't see is that we are also in a video chat, and what I'm showing right now is the game Magic Maze, which is, by the way, from Casper Lab. I don't know if you know this guy because it's a Czech game developer. And and oh, yeah, I guess it was. And here in this game, you also play with dwarves and stuff like that. And your goal is to, as a team, to find a common solution for the game and to win collaboratively. You can't win alone. You can only win in a group. So the whole group needs to learn with every iteration. You can ask them, why did you win? What did you change? What was your success factor? And so on and so on. And in Magic Maze, just as an example, this was a game I found in, I guess it was 2017 or 2018 on a games conference. And in this game, a really nice outcome or a learning most teams have is something like the game is played in iterations. So not only the game itself is one long game, but within the game you have short stops. And in those stops, the team communicates with each other. They're communicating on what were we able to achieve till now, what should be our next step, and what is in our way, what is blocking our path, what do we need to achieve as a next step. And if you ask teams, is there any meeting you have in mind which works a little bit like this game? Normally what the teams say is something like, yeah, it's like a normal sprint, right? And every time we were able to communicate with ourselves is the daily. And then you can also ask them, okay, within the game, how did your daily, if you want to call it that way, change? And what usually happens in the game is in the first 1 or 2, let's call them dailies, they are speaking a lot about, hey, you just ran this direction and this makes no sense at all. Why did you do that? And you just now blocked my path. This is not a good idea because we need to go there. So they are really in a problem focus, but also in the focus of the past. And evolving with the game, they are more and more going to the future direction. So in a later daily, they are just going in there and say, okay, our next step should be to reach this goal. Who needs to do what and what is standing in our way? So they are completely changing their focus. And this is something I really like to play with teams which are going into their daily with the this is what I did yesterday, this is what I plan to do till tomorrow. Amen. I don't know if you know these kinds of teams, but where it's really just a status report, like we had in the beginning of our talk. And with those teams, I like to play the game, and I asked them, why the hell do you do your dailies within this game completely different than your dailies in the normal work? And which of those two kinds or those two types do you think is more valuable? What usually happens afterwards is that the team really thinks about how could we change our daily in a way that it feels more like the game. And I already had teams which are talking about, they don't they don't name their problems impediments anymore. They call them the black masks. Who knows the game Escape knows what I'm talking about. So this is not an impediment. This is our black mask. Does anybody have a golden mask for this problem? A golden mask solves a black mask.
And as you talk about those games, you said that it forces people to enter the learning mode as they do not know the game, and it's a new context, new surrounding, completely different from their work where they already know what to do, which, as I see it or as I understand it, might be a limit because they already have their habits. So it's a new context, a new thing. And then you mentioned that the debrief after the game is somehow important, that you should not play the game without the debrief after the game. So what would be your recommendation how to do such a debrief?
One solution or one idea on how to do the debrief I already heard about is the debriefing cubes. So these are two normal cubes you can just throw, and then you will get out a question which can help you debrief. I guess it's a good idea. It's also you could say it's a game about debrief. But on the other hand, this is something which just needs some experience. So which debriefing questions work good, which doesn't? What do you want to achieve with your questions? Do you want to lead somewhere? Do you want to focus onto something? Because sometimes I also saw some debriefings of people, and they are and they just asked, "How did you like the game?" And the team was like, "Oh, it was really fun. We would like to play it again." Okay, next debriefing question. What did you really like? What was the thing you liked the most about the game? And then you are going into a direction which don't help you that much. So people are saying something like, I like that it doesn't have any dice included. Okay, so now it's the turn of the facilitator to get into a better direction, but sometimes it can be hard, right? So basically, if you choose a game to solve a problem the team has, then a good idea can be to try to think upfront. So what is it I want to achieve with the game? And which questions can help me and can help the team to get deeper into this understanding? So, for example, what we just talked about, the game Magic Maze. In this game, it's also you can ask the team something like, okay, do you have any meeting in mind which works a little bit like this game? This is, for example, a debriefing question which can help the team going into a special direction. You can also, I already saw debriefings which were longer than the game itself, and those are really valuable and really powerful. So, and in the end, also like in any good retrospective, try to figure out some actions. One thing can be just to play the game, to make something transparent, to dig deeper into a topic, and then it's okay. We don't need to dig too deep into something. But sometimes you can also then ask the question, okay, if you think about this game and you had fun, right? And if you think about your work, where you have similar occasions which don't make so much fun, what could help us from the game within our working context? What small changes could we do to improve our daily communication and to bring also a little bit of joy and fun into our daily work. Stuff like that can help a team go forward and use the power of the game in their daily life.
And you said that someone or the person interested in designing such a game for her team should think about what she wants to achieve by playing the game. What do you think are the most useful things that you can achieve with playing a game with a team?
I guess to raise transparency for a topic. So it's not about completely changing the way the team works or individuals work, but it's more about to raise transparency about something you're working on since years. Let me take another game example for just to get closer into that one. This is a game I once heard. Imagine you have a new Scrum Master for a team, and you have an Agile coach who's asked to help the team getting the Scrum Master on board. The game works a little bit like that. You take the whole team, and you tell the Scrum Master, please wait outside of the door. And within a room, you put all of the chairs which are in the room into the middle of the room, and then you ask the team members to go through the room from one side to the other. And they will try to get over the chairs and try to crawl under another chair, and then there is a table in the way, so they are really doing some really effort to get to the other side. And then you tell them, okay, and now put everything back, but remember all those chairs and all those tables in the room, because you will need to act it again in just a minute. Then you take the Scrum Master in and you ask the people again, please go through the room. And they are going through the room, but they are still crawling under invisible chairs and hopping over invisible tables. And the Scrum Master will stand there and look like, what the hell are they doing here? And then you can debrief that. What do you think just happened? And the idea of that game, for example, is if you're working years over years over years on the same problems and in the same environment and so on, there will be things you don't see anymore. You're working on a daily basis. You have problems or stuff which is taking time away from your time, which are impediments for the team doesn't see anymore. And games can help us again to raise this transparency. So if you play a game with exactly a focus on this problem, at the end of the game, teams may say, yeah, the biggest problem in this game was this factor. Okay. Do you see something similar in your working life? Oh yeah, I think about this meeting which we attend 2 times a week, and it's always 2 hours. So we have 4 hours per week, but it has no value at all. Stuff like that happens, right? So to raise the transparency for a special thing, which is maybe invisible to the team's eyes. I guess this is the most powerful thing games can help on.
And so to raise the transparency about the topic, to see some things that you do not see because you're already working in such a context environment for a long time.
Yeah.
And who do you think is the most suitable person in the company to create such games and propose such things?
That's a good question. So I guess what happens most of the times is that it's a Scrum Master or an Agile coach trying to help a team or trying to help in a special context, or trying also to help, for example, in a leadership circle, where he goes in and brings a game there. So people who have the intent to change processes, to help people improve on impediments, people like that, which have that focus are maybe most suitable because they already have the focus. So yeah.
So people who have the intent to change processes, like Scrum Masters and Agile coaches.
Yeah, for example. I guess this is most suitable.
And with what teams do you think it's possible to play those games?
I would say with every team, there's just one small thing you sometimes need to do if you have a team which says we don't play games at work, we are not paid for playing games. For those teams, you just need to tell them, okay, let's make some kind of visualization of a problem or some. So you just don't call it a game, but play the game nevertheless. But you can do it with every team, with every group of persons, so it doesn't even need to be a team, and all about all over the company. I once had a training where we and in the Agile trainings I had a lot of games, of course, and also so interactive learning sessions, I would say. And there was one guy not attending, and the game was about people crawling on the floor. It was really funny because I knew those guys like 20 minutes, and it's one of the first exercises I have in my training. And there are like 15 people in the room, and like 10 of those were in a jacket with a zip tie and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, let's see if they do that. And they were all crawling on the floor besides one guy. It was funny as hell, but I also was a little bit like, why is he not joining? And afterwards, I was Googling for his position, and then I found out it was the CEO of the whole company. I didn't know it in the beginning of the training itself. But he himself was really funny when we and also brought it in some joy when I guess you know the acronym DEEP for product backlog transparency. So like detailed, appropriately estimated, and so on and so on. And he was crying out in laughter in the middle of the training. I was like, oh, what the hell? What did just happen? And he said, "Haha, ihr habt det gelesen," which means something like, I have just read idiot instead of deep. So DEPP instead of DEEP. And also everyone was looking to him and like, okay, our CEO just, okay. So there was some sparks of joy which also reached him, right? So you can also play it with CEOs and the C layer of a company.
And you said that with some teams who do not want to play the game because you cannot play games at work, that you should not call it a game. How do you make sure that when you have a game designed to bring transparency, for example, that you get the consent from the team to play the game with them?
So normally I also ask the team something like, hey, I have something which is important for me. So I also show them some kind of vulnerability sometimes. So if I have the feeling that the team is not into, there are teams where you can ask the team, hey, let's play a game this afternoon, 2 hours. Are you in? And everyone says yes immediately. So for teams where I think it could become a problem, then I would tell them, I have something I would like to show you where I would like to get a deeper understanding of, and also your input. So also make it transparent that they are really needed for this exercise. And so I don't use the word game. And then in the simulation, I just say, okay, I would like to show you something. And for that, I want to put you out of your working context, maybe even out of your comfort zone. Is there someone who's not in it? Someone who doesn't want to join? I don't want to pressure anyone into going deeper into this context, but I guess every one of you could learn something out of that. And I also think that all of your ideas and all of your input can be valuable for our debrief. And normally everyone is in it. everyone wants to see what's the simulation about. What can I learn here? Is there something which can help me on my daily work? So yeah.
And how many people do you think have to agree so you're willing to make the next step and play the game?
You mean how many people are needed for the group pressure, so to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 70, 80%. But normally, there are normally two possibilities. Either no one says, nah, I don't want to play it, or no, I don't want to join it. Or there's one guy, and if there's one guy, there's always a second or third guy. So you have the group pressure in the other way around. Oh, if this guy is saying no, then I say no as well. But what happens afterwards is usually that people who were within the game, and for example, they also change the way they work, or they speak about the game and what happened there, they will also motivate the people which were not there for the next time. So, hey, in this game we did that, and it was really funny, and we really learned something about X, Y, Z. And those people who said, no, I don't want to join, they're like, maybe I should have joined. Sounds interesting. Could also be valuable for me. And sometimes I even have people then coming to me and asking me, hey, can you tell me once more what happened there? And can you give me a short introduction or a short overview about what I just missed there? Yeah.
And how would you like to close today's conversation?
How would I like to close today's conversation? Maybe with a small game, if you're into it. Thomas,
Yeah.
would you like to play a small game with me?
Of course.
It may take like 2 minutes of silence, so maybe you need to cut it out. Depends on your speed. And the game is a short game of getting people to know each other in a room. So, for example, I had a training in Austria, and there we had 10 people, and I was like, okay, let's play a short game for getting to know each other better. And they were like, we are working since 3 years together. We know each other really well. I said like, okay, let's play a short game. Game works as following. You are now asked to think about 2 stories. One story should be true about yourself, and one story should be imagined and not true, a false story about yourself. Just think about 2 small stories, and the whole group, which is in that case me, will then try to guess which of those stories was true and which was false.
And how long do they have to be?
Usually like one sentence or 1.5 sentence. Just a really short, not story or statement.
Okay.
So
I got it.
you're already ready?
Yes, I'm fast.
Yeah, but I'm not. Give me a moment.
Okay, so you have to also have 2 stories, right?
Yeah, I also have to have 2 stories.
Okay.
Yes, okay, let's go. You want to start?
Yes. So I share both of them at the same time, or
You share
just one?
both, and I need then to try to figure out which one is true and which one is false.
Okay. Okay. So here's the first story. I was working in China, and I was outside on the street talking to a Chinese friend, and the Chinese friend was asking me where I'm from, and I said, and it was in Chinese, and I said that I'm from Czech, and the Chinese person replied, well, I do not know this company.
the Czech company. Okay.
So that's first story. And second story, I am fluent in German.
Okay, so I need to guess which one is true and which one is false. I would say the first story, the China story, is true, and the fluent in German is false.
Yeah, correct.
That's correct. Okay, then it's my turn. I just needed to Google something, and I have arbitrator. So one story is during my school time, I was working as an arbitrator for pupils. So arbitrator is someone who I did mediation. So if people had were really angry about them, other people, I helped them to get it out of the way. This is the one story. In my school time, I was an arbitrator. And the second story is I have a green belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult. Because Taekwondo, as I know, is Korean, and I know, well, you're very passionate and interested about Japan, so that's it's a tough one. And arbitrator, it's funny to imagine, and I would even say it might be true. So I would say the first one is true, and the second one is false.
This is completely right. I did an arbitrator mediation course in school and did it for like 2 years or something like that. And I would say it was some kind of the starting point for my Agile career. It was really cool. And the other thing, this is also right. I only had a yellow belt in Taekwondo because it was too expensive for me to pay for the green belt, which was like 40 euros back then. And I didn't want to pay this money just for a colored belt. So I said, no, thank you. So they are both kind of true, but the second one, is false. And so how to close? This was the one thing, just play a game. I like play games. And the other thing is, for your listeners, just try it out. Find people where you think you can help with a game. Try Tasty Cupcakes. Look for all the brilliant games on there. And also, sometimes it can be that you maybe don't have a problem in mind, but you would like to play a game. And this can be fine as well. If you just browse through all the games which are there could be a game jumping directly into your face and saying, hey, this is a problem your team has. And this can be helpful as well. So maybe you yourself are already kind of blind of the people's problems, and just browsing through Tasty Cupcakes can already help you to make it transparent, and also to choose yourself a game to start with your team.
Thanks a lot, Veit. It was really amazing. Thanks a lot for sharing all your experience and knowledge about games, and I hope people will play more of them.
Thank you, Tomasz. Bye-bye.
Have you enjoyed today's show the same way I did? Then hit the subscribe!